Okay, it's 5:30. Please join us in the pledge of allegiance. I keep forgetting, sorry.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything to change or delete to the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to fiscal business, the fiscal officer's report.
Yeah, just a couple quick things for the board. We are finished with the 2019 audit. We identified a couple errors that we had and have corrected those errors. We've also changed procedures that caused both those errors. We've added procedures on a monthly basis to check those. So we'll try not to find new ways to mess ups for this year, but I feel confident that as we build additional processes to the month-end procedure, that we'll get better and better at it as we go. So on a positive note, we did get a 4-star rating from the Auditor of State for transparency in government and open government. That's the highest rating from the Auditor of State of Ohio, and it really reflects the work of the fiscal office, the staff, and the board too. We really do try to keep an open and transparent government here at Clear Creek Township. So I wanted to thank Matt and you guys for your support in that and helping us to reach our goal of being an open and transparent government.
Thank you, Russ.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And then the first thing on the agenda here, we had a resolution 5239, and that's to enable us to purchase a excavator. But I found out just before the meeting that we need to buy that excavator immediately. And typically, if we pass this as a second reading, I have to wait 30 days before I can get the money appropriated and allow the PO to be created. And so what I'd like to do is to ask the board if they would be willing to pass a motion to amend 5239 to add emergency language.
Yeah, I'd like to entertain a motion to revise 5239 and declare, adding the language and declaring an emergency. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
And with that, sir, then it's ready for your action.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve 5239 as amended?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
And then the one that
Go right ahead.
you always like having every year, this is the resolution for the street lights. One thing I wanted to let you know is that we did discover an error that Miami Valley Lighting was overbilling us. So we recovered a little over $6,000 in township money back to us from that. So I was really happy to find it.
Good for you.
So anyway, money goes back to the township residents, which makes it all worthwhile. And so this is the special assessments for the street lighting districts. This is the money that we spent in 2019 that we're going to put on the 2020 property taxes that are collected in 2020.
Okay.
Ready for your action.
Any questions about 5240? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve 5240?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Mearsfall?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And nothing under public comments at this time. And moving on to new business, we have a recommendation to purchase the Bobcat E85 excavator at the cost as indicated, not to exceed $110,000.
Yeah, this is concurrent with the passing of the resolution for the supplemental in order to finish the last bit of work on creating the disc golf course. Instead of renting that equipment, if we have the opportunity to get it as soon as possible and get it delivered there, we'd like to do that. So that's why we called an audible for the emergency clause and then asked for the board to authorize the purchase.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions to Matt or Scott about this? Okay, is there a motion to approve this purchase for the excavator and equipment?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Anything else under road and park at this time?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving on to planning and zoning. We have resolution 5241, a resolution to amend the zoning resolution and map to rezone the property commonly known as 9175 State Route 48, and the parcel number is indicated from B1 PUD to NR PUD, and dispense with second reading. BI is the term I use 1,000 times a day. It's called bodily injury.
Well, the reason is a neighborhood business. We're doing away with that section, sir. So if you want to go ahead and set this, open up the public hearing, keep going.
There's a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
And Mr. Wade?
Okay, so the request this evening to look on the monitor, we're looking at property known as 9175 State Route 48. Again, it's going from a neighborhood business planning and development to a non-residential planning and development in our PUD. The applicant is John Koppelcheck. Hopefully I've said that right, may have screwed it up to get to it. Ultimately, to the north we have SR1 zoning classification, to the east we have R1A PUD, B1, and to the south we have B2 PUD, and to the west we have R1 PUD. In 2004, the property was rezoned from R1 to B1 PUD, and at that time there were 9 conditions. One was limitation of use to allow embroidery, landscape, lighting, home automation, clothing, apparel design, and sales office to exist on the property. At that time, there was also a limitation of hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The applicant came through in 2005 and showed a site plan that finally got approved. And with that site plan, there are 3 buildings proposed, which took up 0.87 acres, and 38% of that site was open space. There was an existing home on the site that they tore down, and it's been sitting vacant since. We look at the land use plan. This is the northern commercial node, and within that commercial node, this is the most northern property, expecting to be in a commercial use. This is the applicant's site plan. They're requesting to have a self-storage facility and to have a total of 13 buildings on site. So since they didn't meet the use categories of B1 PUD Stage 1, they didn't meet the site plan for the number of buildings of Stage 2, this is a major modification request. So what they're coming forth this evening is to ask for a total of 1.71 acres of buildings, which would be in 2 phases, an office and 7 buildings, second phase being 8 through 12, and they have 31% open space. These following slides are what we're going to refer to as Exhibit B when we get to the zoning, actually the trustee resolution. This product was built in Beaver Creek, so you're going to see some renderings and some actual photos of that activity, and I want to replicate that here in Clifford Township. So they provide an aerial map, site, project summary is actually showing some of the building materials of stone, brick, EPIS, veneers, sales office, would be oriented with State Route 48, a similar design as such. So we look at the rendering, which you've seen a couple times, but this is the rendering, this is the actual product that was built. So pretty much on to the idea of the rendering gaining life, and another viewpoint of the storage facility. Well, this went before Warren County Regional Planning. They made a recommendation to approve with 9 conditions. Number 5 is dealing with the public road right-of-way dedication. We'll actually change the site plan because of dedication. They added the use of self-storage to the existing uses, kept the hours of operation as specified Exhibit B, what I just outlined as building materials, and then they did an outdoor storage prohibition. This went before the zoning commission. They moved to approve the request with 8 of the 9 conditions outlined by regional planning. They took out the hours of operation, feeling that was more of a stage 2 discussion. So this evening, what you have is draft resolution 5241, which specifies the 8 conditions that the zoning commission recommended. So this action for you this evening is to approve, modify, or deny what is before you. With that, I can answer any questions of the trustees.
I just wanted to make sure I understand, so we've taken out the time, and we're not going to deal with that now, that is, in fact, is that stage 2, or should we?
Well, they believe to do more of a stage 2 request, however, the applicant had a discussion with him, recently. He believes that he's comfortable with a time, not that time, but we'd like to have that as a discussion of stage 1 to go ahead and get it out of the way.
I was gonna say, it doesn't seem to be a big deal to me if we can work out the time, if you want something different than what it was, that we did years ago.
Yeah, I think truly the
You can
reason
talk
back
about
in the
that.
day was just to make sure the neighbors were comfortable with it at a stage 1 discussion, so that when it came back for site plan, you were dealing with those elements, not all the when's this going to occur type of activity.
I certainly can, I agree with the zoning commission on all of their 8 points, and the planning commission, so I don't see any big deal with this at all. I'd like to hear what he has to say about the hours. What about you guys?
Is this going to be, people checking in, they can get their stuff even if the office is closed? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the idea for the hours of operation would be they could only come get their stuff during that prescribed time. And what the regional planning put forth was a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., which corresponded with what the D1 PUD stage 1 approval was. The applicant, however, will talk about a different timeline that he'd like to see.
Okay. Let's see what he has to say about it.
All right, John, you're on.
One thing before I make any comments, which first of all, thank you, Jeff. It is hard to, almost impossible to hear the trustees talk. So I don't know if that might need to be turned on or what, but I cannot hear when they say something.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, Jeff, you covered mostly everything. We did receive feedback from Warren County regarding the additional right-of-way that they're going to need. And if we are approved, our next submission for the stage 2, which will be in the next couple of days, will show that additional right-of-way. We did receive design for the septic system, so that's been sized and properly designed for. So we've already kind of taken a couple next steps in the hopes that this will get approved. I'm assuming everybody can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Yes, can you hear us now? Don, can you hear us now?
Your mic is still off.
How about now?
Now, I could hear that, but it's faint.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to pick him up and talk right in, if that helps.
I don't know what else to do.
And also, I mean, there's very little people here, so just to relay, if there's any questions too, to Jeff, if I can't hear him, we can do that also.
Can do.
John, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear, but I think it has something to do with the Zoom mic is actually, it's showing here that it's muted on whatever computer the trustees have.
Yeah, I was trying to take that through mine so that I didn't have the echo occur.
Okay, but it's fine.
Oh, there you go, Jeff.
I don't think it's a big deal, Joe.
Okay.
But then we heard some of Mr. and Mrs. Clan's concerns from the zoning meeting. So I set up a meeting with them along with their daughter Tina last week, met with them. We went through a lot of their questions. As you'll see on the site plan, this is rough, there's no landscape plan yet, which will come in stage 2 if this is in fact approved. We have proposed some landscape mounting on the north side of the property. In our minds, that was going to help screen our project from their home. They had a concern, so we'll be coming back as the landscape plan will show. There'll be trees added on top of those landscape mountings to continue to mitigate the effects of their property. Talked with them about the building material, similar to how you presented that, Jeff. It's our intent on 48 to really have that same look as we have in Beaver Creek.
The Clannons did drive and looked at our project in Beaver Creek to verify what we proposed and what we built is exactly what happened. And that'd be our goal here. That public space is really finished with that EPIS stone brick facade, and that office looks the same as it does in Beaver Creek. The one thing we did talk about were the hours. Our hours in Beaver Creek are 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, that's operating. And then 9 a.m. to, I think it's 4 p.m. on Saturday operating. And then our tenants have access 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. Some facilities have 24-hour access, others have generally this access, and that's not an open office from 5 to 10, that is simply our tenants can come and get their stuff. The Clannons asked if we could reduce that time frame a little bit. This is not voted on by the zoning commission, so what we're asking for is for access to the property. Now, how that's worded between operational, but we're asking for access between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. So, reducing from our project in Beaver Creek, and Mr. Clannon and Mrs. Clannon, I believe, felt that was something that was okay. So that's what I'm asking for, is that we can be open access to the public or to our tenants from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I think other than that, generally, again, taking the right of way into concern or into consideration, we're going to redo the site plan a little bit. There might be one additional building with how we have to work the site with the additional right of way, but that'll be coming through on the stage 2 if in fact we do get approval for that.
Okay. Okay. There are a couple people waiting this way, so if you want me to see if they have something to say?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to unmute the 937 974-2955 phone number. Okay. Can you unmute? There you go. Can you state who you are? Say again, please.
Tina Weaver.
James Clynan.
Yes, go ahead.
I really don't have any question as long as they stay with 6 to 8.
Okay.
And I definitely want the hill and the trees that you said they would put in. But otherwise, everything sounds okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
All right, thank you. I'll mute you back. All right, and there's someone, looks like it's Jared.
You don't have to do that, he's also he's with us.
Okay.
He probably doesn't. I don't want to speak for myself, I don't think there's anything to say.
That's fine, I just wanted to make sure everyone was accounted for.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Wade, that's everyone who is currently logged in.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, do you have any questions for John about this?
I have one question. Can he hear me?
Are you able to hear Mr. Jabber?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
My question is in regards to the type of uses that you have within your storage facility. In the past, we've had some challenges with people managing businesses out of a storage unit. Just want to make sure that you understand those restrictions and what type of thing would you, if that came about, what type of action would you take as the managing the property?
Yeah, so, yeah, it is not our intent to have anybody to be running their business out of there. We definitely have some commercial users that are storing some of their materials in there. But yeah, if we found out somebody was running their business out of there, we would definitely take them out. And I'm sure, it's kind of bad to say, I've never seen our lease. We do have a local third-party management company that does manage it for us, but they are local. And they run it and they do a great job and they handle all the leases. So I'm going to say that I'm pretty sure that's in there, but I have not read that to talk to somebody, but we can make sure that's not happening.
Okay. That's all I had, Mr. Wade.
Okay, Jeff, you have anything else?
Only if you have questions, sir.
No, I will say that I'm comfortable with that 6 to 8. Are you guys?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we're fine. Okay. All right. If we don't have any more questions, then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve 5241 with.
Close the hearing first, then do that, yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And a motion to reconvene the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And now I'd like to entertain a motion to approve 5241 with the addition of the language for 6 to 8, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. hours of operation and dispense with the second reading.
So on that one, Mr. Wade, same thing, let's make a motion to add that as a condition, right, Jeff?
Okay.
And then you'll vote again on the amended.
Okay. Then I'd like to entertain a motion to add the hours of operation from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. to this, to the 8 making 9 conditions.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And now, with that being done, is there a motion to approve 5241 with the amendment and dispensing with the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Okay.
Expect government as an efficient.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Okay, anything else in planning and zoning this evening?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay, moving on to administration, we have a recommendation to authorize the township administrator to enter into consulting agreement with KZF Design for Phase 1 final programming and final concept design services for the government center complex at a cost not to exceed $29,750.
So KZF presented us with a final conceptual proposal that would develop 2 options and rough sketches for all the new and renovated buildings in the plan. They would identify the requirements, which is permit, zoning, process, project milestone schedules, that kind of thing, a rough budget. They would do field review of our existing conditions as well as review of mechanical, electrical, plumbing capabilities of existing buildings that we're going to renovate. And identify zoning issues, obviously, we're pretty good at that here too. But building code diligence, constraints and limitations to making the project happen, bid out and award civil engineering and geotechnical work, which is all pre-construction plans that have to be developed. Coordinate with utilities and figure out those capabilities, develop a probable cost budget or an opinion of probable construction costs would be a result of this particular phase of the project as well. And lastly, they would develop hardline floor plans to put out there for construction bids. And the final concept design documents is what the package, the deliverable is at the end of this particular phase. So the proposal that they put in front of us was fairly detailed, a little bit repetitive in points, talking about the hardline floor plans, but really what you're trying to do is develop a package to put it on the street and publicly bid new construction.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Matt about this, or are we ready to entertain a motion to direct them to enter into this contract? Ready? Motion to direct Matt to enter into a contract with KZF.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Then we have a recommendation to accept an endorsement of the Insurance and Benefits Committee to select Anthem's non-shop 3% health insurance offer.
Yeah, so
Provide-
go ahead.
I was just going to finish it. Provided we accept the Anthem's 0% dental offer as a bundle.
So it started out as a 19.3% renewal increase, which whittled down to about an 8.3. We discussed that internally and said, I think you can do that. So they Haran took it back to Anthem, who delivered a final renewal of a plus 5%. However, they sweetened the deal and said, if you don't, well, they said 5% no shop for the health insurance renewal, but if you no shop as well as take our dental, we'll drop the plus 5 to a plus 3. So they dropped it another 2%. And I don't think anybody was dissatisfied with the Delta, with the Anthem Dental when we had it in 2018.
Okay.
The service levels and the benefits are identical from what we've had before, and frankly, if you're in Dental Care Plus's network, you're probably in Anthem's network too. So, the committee wanted to, realize the savings that comes from that added 2%, because it's real money. I mean, it's 30% of what we spend on dental every year. That's the equivalent of the cash savings of 2% on the health insurance, so.
Yeah, it's whittled down to the 3% overall.
And I think that speaks to our employees' loss ratio too. I think they did a good job managing health insurance coverage this year. So kudos to them for having good experience and getting a renewal that was actually very, comparably speaking, we did pretty well.
Anybody have any questions for Matt? Matt, do you need a motion for us to make that happen, or?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you would, please. I mean, we'll pass a resolution later in the year for the trustees and the officials to be on that care, but please make a motion.
Okay, if somebody would move to have Matt adopt Anthem's 3% and no percent on the dental after the bundle.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Okay. Anything else, Matt?
No, not this time.
Fire District, I have a recommendation to make an application for the World Grant Funds and for various computers and associated hardware this year.
Yeah, it's that time again. We're looking to upgrade some of our mobile data computers and some associated hardware with that. We're switching to a new CAD system that's got it's an automatic vehicle location antenna on it, so the computer will know where every truck is. So when that goes live on September 1st, we're expecting to maybe have to purchase some stuff for that also.
If I have any questions for Steve, about the road grant and the purposes of the use of the money? If not, is there a motion to direct Steve to apply for the road grant funds?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Police Department, just consent agenda, do you have anything else, Chief?
I do not, sir.
Moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Staff updates. Anybody have anything?
You want to go first?
Yeah, no, you, please.
Gentlemen,
Hi, Jeffrey.
agriculture, do you want to talk about it tonight, or do you want to punt it for another day?
Oh, I'd say we talk about it, it's okay with me.
You got some direction that I can make some progress? Ultimately, I gave you the true thumbnail
Yeah.
about where some things were, how some other people looked at it. What I'm looking for this evening is if there's truly a list of prohibited animals we want to deal with, how we want to deal with animals by classification or by the animal units, stuff like that, so that I can start to go down the pathway of creating a document. So, looking at how other people did stuff, was there something that you said, oh, didn't think of, this is a better way, or anything like that that came to mind? The chickens, just as an item, looked like others were treating chickens as a animal unit differently than horses per se. You know, so they would do a reduction of those types of animals where they would not do it for the large ones. So, just not sure which way you guys want to proceed.
Well, that's a very good question. I personally, I would treat chickens the same way as I did all the other animals.
I think that's easier. Historically, that's how we've dealt with it. You either are agriculture or you're not. If you're not agriculture, then you meet a setback and you go forward. But
And if somebody builds any sizable chicken pen, it can stink just as bad as a horse or cow barn.
sure.
For sure. Been there, done that.
I did put in a call to the Extension Office just to see if there was any guidance that I could get from the Ohio State Extension regarding the 4-H animals, and if there was a particular setback that would be imposed, or minimum acreage, or something like that. So if somebody can calls, historically about, okay, this is what I'm gonna raise for 4-H, just to get a feel. At this point, they've not contacted back. I do anticipate that they're probably busy with other things going on. But just as another avenue so that we have some of that dialogue, because if truly an animal's gonna be there on a temporary basis, we truly think about 4-H being, maybe a 6-month timeline, just as a rough. Is there a desire for that to have a different setback, or be treated differently, or to be accepted out, so to speak, if it was a certain breed or certain expectation? And that's, a little bit different than someone who wants to raise animals for their own consumption versus animals that are being raised as pets, but they fit within that activity. So I didn't know if that was a strategy. You said, okay, let's really talk about if it's 4-H, if it's between this time and that time, we'll have some more leniency, or animals are animals. So that's...
I think you have to be careful with that as 4-H projects, because those things kind of develop. You might, first year, you might have a couple sheep and you sell them, and they go to market, and next thing you know, somebody will buy some ewes, and they'll raise those and raise their own babies for the next time.
Okay.
So I would be careful with that. I don't know that personally I would differentiate between those projects, and it just happens. And many people that I know, I've started off with one project, be done with them.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're raising babies, and it becomes a bigger deal.
Okay.
You guys have all seen that happen.
And it's a project that lasts
15
years.
15 years.
Okay,
You got a couple kids, it becomes a big project.
All right, well, that's why I didn't know if there was a way to go.
I
Fair enough.
would stick, I'd keep it the same. Do they say?
I think the challenge that we're running into here is and it revolves around chickens, it feels like to me, based on most of the feedback I get, is people wanting to raise chickens for their own consumption of eggs, or selling eggs. And that's where the animal unit thing does become a challenge, because as Mr. Wade said, and I've been there, done that too, I mean, you got a 1 acre or a half acre lot, and you got 5 chickens, your neighbors are probably not gonna be happy with you.
Only if there's a rooster.
Yeah, well,
You want eggs?
right,
Yeah.
so,
Well, you don't have to have a rooster to get eggs,
No, you don't.
no.
city boy.
Steve, but go for it.
You do to have babies.
Yeah, to have babies you do,
All right.
but layers is the difference. So, I mean,
Strike that from the record.
So, yeah, I've struggled with this because of the way we're developing out as a township. I just think it's a dangerous path to open up the door and then have to deal with the potential of a small 4-H project is a decade at the very least. So, and I read through, I mean, even as the ones that have appeared to have addressed it, it's revolving around chickens at some level, so, I just don't think there's a good answer for people between a half acre and 5 acre. I mean, it was no offense to the person that sent the email, but we all have farms, and a half acre is a city lot to us. And I understand it's not in the planned unit development or, an HOA, but those restrict themselves, and that's fine.
Well, it's on the configuration of the lot.
Right. You look between the setback and proximity, so I've been scratching my head about this when I've driven around the township, just kind of looking, and I hesitate to vary off of.
If you look at, maybe that's something we should do, is put together maybe a little schematic of some different size lots, a square and a rectangle, minimal size lot, and then a 5 acre lot, and something we could visually look at Because I think 80, if you've got 5 acres and you have to say 85 feet, you have to only add a lot, I think might be a little bit ridiculous. Maybe 40 feet would be okay. But if you have a half acre lot and it's, what's our minimum lot size, 100 feet?
Yeah, further I want to be a 100-foot one.
Yeah, I don't think you can get to, you might be getting too close with any type of building.
Right.
Right? That's my concern. You know, nice 5 acre lot with a little barn house.
Yeah, and the way which, truly, for the agricultural ones, 5.01 or above, we'll let you put as many and wherever you need.
Right.
It's for those that are below the 5 that we're trying to see where it should be shut in.
That's for you to have to do that, can you do that for us?
Yeah, I can put together a diagram for you, sure.
Yeah.
Is there a minimum setback that you're looking for to be imposed for pictorial, or you just want to make sure the lot sizes, and we can look at lot sizes and play from there?
I don't know, I don't have anything preconceived in my mind, but why don't we pick some? Do you want to say 50 feet instead of 85, or 40 feet, or 42 and a half? Split the,
Well,
I don't know.
Split the lot, split 50%.
it may grow organically through that process of just looking at what the lot looks like.
Yeah.
You know, talking about the chickens, I think if we could limit no more than 12 hens and no roosters, they're not gonna have anything but a little bit of the shed.
Right.
And that's gonna provide, you know, something for them. I wouldn't have any problem with anything like that.
And the way in which we've interpreted the setback is just for the coop or for the barn, we've allowed grazing or exercise to a property line. Some of these other jurisdictions take that enclosure to mean any fenced-in area, and it's a much tighter space. You guys still comfortable with exercising to a property line? And we're just talking about the structure, or is that something that you want to have some play with?
Okay with that.
I am, I guess my only thought would be that on the smaller lots, we might, I mean, it's kind of like the whole, I hate to use the grass comparison, but the staggered effect, to be able to, because if you, and I'm visualizing half-acre lots and seeing chickens coming up against, I mean, you're only talking, that may coincide with the setback from the residential structure of the neighbor. I mean, you could be that close, so.
You would effectively zone it out. If you
Yeah.
were to not allow grazing to alone.
Right, so, I mean, maybe
Very good point.
Yeah.
we have a different classification for the size of those lots to add to it. I mean, I get it, I want eggs, and my wife doesn't want chickens, so,
There you go. You lose.
then I lose.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't have enough room for it, it's just she doesn't want them. My dad's scared her, so.
Anything else that you want for the next meeting, to visualize or information?
I can't think of anything.
Maybe a couple examples, as Lori's traveling around,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can,
a couple pictures would
Okay.
be helpful, I think, to
Yeah.
for us to visualize it.
yeah.
Of course, those people think that they're out of code and she's standing there taking pictures of it, but
I can think of several that you can see from the road that we can take care of, so.
I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Like I said, as I drove around, I was kind of looking to see who was doing what. I've got some friends that have smaller than 5 acres and how they handle it, and a lot of them use their accessory structures as part of it. Like, yeah,
Coop on the back of the garage.
Exactly. Exactly right, so.
And it's not usually a big deal until the neighbor doesn't like what has happened, and then we get involved, and they realize, oh, at that point in time, it should have really been shoved further into the property and
Right.
the like. So if it's something that, I mean, I've seen organic growth, and sometimes it's the new regulation, that may be a solve. But at the end of the day, if truly we want it out, we need to talk about it. If it's something you want in, we need to talk about it so that we can make it happen.
Well, that's, if you can do some of that
Yeah.
for us, and I don't know if you have to have it by next meeting, if you get too busy, wait till the next meeting.
Okay.
Just move forward on it and we'll keep looking.
Okay, cool. Any other direction that you guys have?
I think so.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Anybody else, Matt?
Yeah, there should be in your meeting material, the revised subdivision plat for Woodgrove and direct your attention to it with regard to the secondary access on the north end of the property there.
It's in the back of the consent agenda.
Yeah, should be all the way at the back of the packet. Where discussion had taken place about the country road between Red Line 5 and 741, ultimately, we settled on a compromise, I guess, between all parties involved, that the better alternative for emerged secondary access to the subdivision would be for them to build a sub-street coming off of, coming near that property line and out of there, that is substandard by subdivision regulations, but it frankly meets secondary road standards. It's ditched, doesn't have a curb, that kind of thing, but it's plenty wide enough and plenty deep enough, and it'll be built to county specs in terms of depth. So it's a lot better than a 10-foot paved path between two houses to allow for the fire truck to get down in the worst case scenario. So I presented that to you just as kind of a informational thing to say this is what the compromise ended up being. And we'll see if you have any heartburn about it.
I don't, and it certainly puts us in a position where they're not gonna ask us for a bunch of money to help fund the road.
No.
That I would not like to do, not even for a penny.
Agreed.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to mention was, I saw that the city advertised a shredded event at North Park, and I immediately jumped on it and invited us into it. Said, hey, Chris, you mind if we tag along with you? So, they're doing a residential shredded event for all citizens of Springboro and Clear Creek Township. That's on August 22nd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's at North Park at 195 Tamarack Trail, so Tamarack Trail. So, just wanted to let the board know that was going on, and let your neighbors and folks know that if they've got documents that they need destroyed, we're sponsoring the event along with the city.
Very good.
Do they have to show ID to be part of it?
They do.
And you've clarified that we have several different zip codes in the township?
We do, yes.
Okay. I wonder, I saw the event,
Yeah.
and we probably ought to repost it and let people know if we're in too, but I wondered about that, because I was 11 zip code.
Right.
I shred all my own stuff, but I get it.
I put it front and center on the Facebook page, and I also pinned it to the top of the Facebook page and put it front and center of the website.
Okay.
Great. Anything else, Matt?
No.
Anybody else? Anything? No? Counselor?
Good to see you. I'm wondering, as I heard Jeff, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? But I was waiting for one of you. I was waiting for Mr. Muta's father.
He's got to get married.
I was waiting for Mr. Muta's father to do that one for me.
Okay. Yes, hold on. Okay, with no further business to become before the trustees, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yeah.
Mr. Muse?
Yeah.
Mr.
Lawyer,